Hi there, welcome to the channel, and it's another deck building video, and this one is about very similar to the Set the Tempo video where I have built a deck just around one particular objective card, and I may have come across something a little bit naughty. So the card that I chose was the card with our bare hands. If you're not familiar with it, not to worry. It's a card that I've never seen used in a game ever, and it's in Night Vault, so it's going to be rotated out at the end of the year when Season 4 comes, but it is a third end phase card that can score you 3 glory, and the conditions are you score this in the third end phase if there are at least 3 surviving friendly fighters and no surviving friendly fighter has an upgrade. Quite a nonsense card, so I had to, but there was only really one warband that I could think of that this could potentially work with, as having 3 people left at the end is quite tough in this day and age. So the warband that I went for, just because of the pure amount of people in the warband, and what seemed like an obvious choice was the Gitz. So Zarbags Gitz are by no means a warband that people are sleeping on at the moment, particularly since the FAR. They have kind of risen right back up to the top of popular warbands to play. But this particular kind of attitude of how to play them, just to score this card, I don't think I've seen anyone else doing it. So let's jump to the deck, break down what I have put in there, and let me know what you think afterwards. So here we are on the rather fantastic underworldsdb.com, and the deck fully loaded up in here again, so I'm not going to be going through every card again, just to let you know why and why not I won't be picking them. But let's get straight to it. Objectives, we'll start with the surges. The way that I'm playing this, chances are one of my guys is going to get killed first, so Martyred was kind of definitely the first choice for my Gitz. Very popular card amongst Gitz players. They're all relatively low health and quite easy to kill when uninspired. So you score immediately if the first fighter taken out of action in this round is one of your warband. Warning shot. This is the first restricted slot that I fill. Score this immediately when a friendly fighter's attack action with a range of 3 or more fails. So you don't have to be at range 3 to do it. So you have those 3 arrow lads. They can be as close as you like and still take the shot and miss. They're only rolling 2 dice. They're swords. You miss quite a lot with these guys. So it's a dumb card, but quite easy to score, and if you're not scoring it, you're causing damage, so it's still all right. Then next up, one of the reasons that now Gitz are quite strong because of this objective, score this immediately after an activation if your warband holds 2 or more objectives. Really easy for the Gitz to score thanks to their scurry mechanic. Just stick 2 people on an objective and you score it straight away. So quite silly. Probably going to get FAR'd when that comes. Next up, my second restricted slot, Scrum. Again, score this immediately after an activation if 4 or more fighters on the battlefield are in a single group in which each fighter is adjacent to at least one other fighter. Again, so easy to score, particularly if you're using the board with the 3 starting hexes in the middle, because you can arrange the board so you've scored it without even actually having to move anyone. if you put 3 in the middle and then have your squig herder and the squigs sort of close by as well. And it doesn't have to be all your guys. So if someone comes in for a charge and misses and they're surrounded, it's again a silly card for the Gitz and quite easy to score. Show of Force, another one of the new cards. Score this immediately after an activation if 3 or more friendly fighters are in enemy territory, or 1 or more friendly fighters each have 3 or more upgrades. I've got this in there just for the in enemy territory. I'm very rarely going to have 3 or more upgrades on someone for pretty obvious reasons, as you'll be able to see shortly. But again, because of Scurry, because of the Squig Herder, it's insanely easy to score. And then Temporary Victory, my final restricted slot. Score this immediately after an activation if your warband holds 3 or more objectives. Again, Scurry means you can score this in the first turn if you are using that board with the 3 in the middle and you've got the objectives where you need them. Those surges are probably the best 6 surges that I've had in a deck for that particular warband. They just seem insanely easy to score. And it is kind of the backbone of how getting this deck to work, those 6 surges, because you can just rack the points up so quickly. And if your card draw is right, you can score a lot of points in the first round, which then makes it really hard for the person to catch you up. So the end phases, Mad Scurry. I don't think there's any Gitz player that doesn't bring this. You score this in the end phase if at least 5 of your surviving fighters made a move action in the preceding action phase. If this comes out quite late, you might be a bit screwed over. But because of kind of the odds being in your favour of this being in your hand at some point in the first 2 rounds, moving 5 people is quite easy. You have the Squig Herder and his squigs. That's 3. And then you just need to either have 2 separate people to move, or you just have 2 guys that are next to each other and do the Scurry. It's a no-brainer for Gitz players. I've mentioned it in the previous video with my Orc deck. Digging Deep and To the End are in there because card draw is just insanely easy to score at the moment, and particularly with those easy surges and with the 2 cards that are in my ploys. Fired Up is like all of these is just really easy to score for Gitz because I can score glory quite quickly. So I can either inspire everyone with the M3 glory, or I can just inspire Snark at the end of a turn. And you inspire Snarker. If you got no intention of moving him at all, you inspire him at the end of the first turn, because then the opposition has to always have at the back of their mind, oh, he's going to do that little spinny thing at some point. So why wouldn't you? Because you're going to want to have to give him those 3 defense dice. Next up, Supremacy. This is the toughest card to score. I've tried to make it a little bit easier to score thanks to some of the ploys in my hand, but this is the toughest card to score, and the rewards are still quite high to score Supremacy. You can tie it in with Temporary Victory for like a 5-point combo score. If you have Hidden Purpose, it's a 6-point combo score, but it's fairly easy with the Gitz because of the numbers that you have and because of some of the ploys at your disposal. And then the chef kiss of it all with our bare hands. Now, I don't understand why this card hasn't been seen a lot more, particularly with the Gitz. So for you to kill, for me not to be able to score this, you need to kill a lot of my guys. So there are 9. So you need to kill 7. Which is possible. They're very squishy. But to do that, you need to use 7 activations to try and kill my guys. So chances are, if I'm playing someone, you probably don't know that I have that. So your game plan at the moment isn't to try and kill 7 of my guys. Come the second round, I've got that card. All of a sudden, your game plan has to change because you have to stop me scoring that card. It's 3 points. It's such a big swing, and to do that, you're going to need to use 7 activations, which means you're then focusing on something else other than the deck that you've built. So you may be missing, although you may be gaining points for the kills, you might be missing out on other glory scoring opportunities that you have. And you know what? I don't care if you try and kill my guys, because all of these objectives are quite easy to score when I have 4 or 5 people on the board. So it's such a good card for the Gitz. It's crazy. And yeah, I think I've stumbled upon something quite tasty there. But what are your thoughts on those objectives? I know Gitz are really hot at the moment. And there are lots of ways of kind of using your glory to be able to kind of punch home that win. In the 4 games that I've played, I have scored all of my cards twice, and in the other 2 games that I didn't score my cards, the card that I didn't score was to the end. So, and that's on Vassal against really good players. So it's not like I'm curb stomping my wife on the kitchen table just to kind of make a point with the deck. It's a strong deck. Gitz are really strong at the moment, but I know some of these cards might get FAR'd in the next couple of weeks. The ones that probably are going to be to the end, Digging Deep and Hidden Purpose, they can all be easily interchanged with something. To the end, I could easily change for Aggressive Strategy. Digging Deep, I could probably change for Frugal. It will become quite obvious as to why with regards to that. And Hidden Purpose, there's lots of easy scoring surges that I can just kind of slip in there for that. But that's the objectives. So let's move on to the gambits. The gambits. So I really wanted to kind of have as much in here as possible to help with the card draw, obviously, and then just lots of pushing around. So the first one is Make Some Noise. Firstly, Beastie Boys reference, so I'm putting that in there. And secondly, I love squigs. But being able to push those squigs 2 hexes makes them excellent blockers. So all of a sudden they're in the way, or all of a sudden they're in an attack position, or supporting someone, or they're just a threat all of a sudden, because they are accurate hitters. So 2 hammers, 2 damage, and then when they inspire, 3 hammers, 2 damage with cleave. Now they inspire when you kill this guy, fine, which does. People very rarely try to kill Drizgit because of that reason, but they can be such a nuisance, and this highlights that even more. I think Make Some Noise is a really good card, and it gives the opposition something to think about. Next one, Sneaky Step, just a push. Helps scoring, supremacy. Haymaker, I've put this in because when I do attack, I'm going to be attacking with the aim to kill, as I'll discuss more in the upgrades. So I want that kind of Haymaker addition to things. So chucking those extra dice, I think, is quite important. 2 steps forward. Such a good counter for Mischievous Spirits. So if it's quite obvious that I'm trying to play Supremacy and they do Mischievous Spirits, I get 2 steps forward. We deal with that. That's literally the only reason that card's in there. Buried Instinct. Really good card, especially when these guys are inspired and you're rolling 2 dice and sticking one of those guys on guard when they're on the objective. They can't be shoved off. They'll be tougher to kill. It's a good card. And possibly going to get FAR'd because everyone's using it at the moment. Quick Search and Unnatural Truth, we know why they're in there. They're 4 to the end and digging deep. Sidestep, push a friendly fighter. Obviously, Distraction, push an enemy fighter. So if I need to push them off an objective, just to sneak on there myself. Daylight Robbery. This card won me a game against Benny. Finally beating Benny, but in a really, really close, crazy game against Benny's Orcs. Daylight Robbery. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I've always been a fan of cards like this and Rebound because I like that kind of chaotic element to the game. And this card has single-handedly won me games by a point. Or it was, so in the game of Benny, it was the deciding factor because my Daylight Robbery went off and his Daylight Robbery didn't. And we drew 19 all and I held 4 objectives at the end, so I got the win. But it's a game-changing card. It certainly is. And always gives you a talking point in a game as well. So, but yeah, they're the ploys. Nothing. I don't think there's nothing kind of revolutionary in there. Most of those ploys are there to make sure I score Supremacy and to make sure that I score to the end and digging deep. What would you include? I think Buried Instinct is probably the one card that I might change in there. I think Quick Search is possibly going to get FAR'd as well. So, but if that does get FAR'd and to the end gets FAR'd, I'm sort of changing the deck a little bit anyway. But at the moment, yeah, I guess it's perfect how it is. And then the upgrades. As you can probably tell by looking at all of these, this is why it's so easy for me to score with our bare hands. All of these upgrades are discarded either after use with the Fameway Crystal and the potions, or after you kill somebody with the Amberstone weapons. Amberbone weapons. Fameway Crystal is great for trying to score Hidden Purpose, Temporary Victory, Supremacy. The potions are literally, apart from Potion of Rage, and Potion of Grace has a place as well. So we'll go through those. Potion of Constitution, reduce the damage suffered by 1. That's not a terrible card. Potion of Grace. After a move token is placed next to this fighter, discard this card. I mean, if you're trying to be kind of clever with your movements and you want to set off a scurry a bit later on and one of the people is out of position, Potion of Grace does actually work for that. Potion of Rage, during this fighter's attack action, before any dice, we know it's +2 dice, so I will mix that with an Amberbone weapon, or mix that with Haymaker, and all of a sudden I'm chucking in like 6 dice. And then all of the Amberbone weapons we know, kill something, gain an extra glory, discard. Which, those Amberbone weapons are quite handy if I'm looking to get a kill. Now with regards to upgrades, unless I was 100% certain that I was going to kill something in the 3rd round, I would not put an upgrade on anyone in the 3rd round. So I'm only putting upgrades on people in the 1st and 2nd round. So somebody said to me, well, I just won't kill those guys with the upgrades. If you're going to sleep on something that's got an Amberbone weapon, just to try and stop me scoring with our bare hands, and then that guy goes up and kills you anyway with that Amberbone weapon, I've scored 2 glory with the Amberbone weapon, as well as the 3 with our bare hands. So ignoring that Amberbone weapon to just try and stop me scoring the third end phase card has cost you a 5 glory swing. So you're giving that person a bit of a problem, because they can just ignore that guy and try and kill other people to stop me scoring with our bare hands, but then maybe I'll kill you anyway with something. It's a conundrum, really. Like, I think in my first 2 games, when I played against the Coven, Amber weapons came into play a couple of times. The dice were in my favour and they went off. So it obviously works because of the discard. You know, these are the only 10 cards that had discard as well. There might have been another potion possibly, but it's just such a good deck, and I was really surprised about how easy it was to get to with our bare hands. And because you're playing with our bare hands, it doesn't matter if you draw 5 upgrades in your first turn, because you just mulligan it, because you don't care. You don't care, because you're probably going to score 19 glory off the bat from your objectives, because they're that easy to score. There are a couple of decks that could undo this. The Lost Pages, possibly. However, the people that a Lost Pages deck would work with, apart from maybe Stormsires, I'll probably be able to get a kill or 2 in. Benny's the deck that I played against with Benny. I won't go into too much detail about it. But that went toe to toe. It was 19 all. So there's stuff out there that can keep up with it, but it's a case of whether it's easy to do that, whether it's easy to keep up with how quickly the Gitz can score. So I think at the moment Gitz are definitely on top. How long they'll be on top for that is another question to be had. There's lots of different ways of playing them. You can play tomes with Gitz quite easily. Stick a guy at the back, pile all the stuff on there with him. And there's this way with our bare hands. I know Amberbone weapons on Gitz isn't a new thing, but I'm really enjoying playing this deck. I very rarely put a deck together that does this well. It's quite consistently scored like 18 glory a game. In a couple of games I've scored 20 plus. There's just no tournaments to play it in at the minute, which is frustrating. This is my naughty Gitz deck. So if would you make any changes? Do you think, is there any way of potentially making this even better? Let me know in the comments, and hopefully see you across the table real soon. Cheers. Bye.